Okay, in this video we will actually start developing Android applications with more than one page, more than one activity. So we will demonstrate in this video how we can actually create an Android application that has like multiple pages, and how can we move from one activity to the other, how can we pass values from one page to the other, how can we return result. All of these we actually are going to demonstrate in this video. So let's start first by drawing the application that we're planning to do. So we will have the first Android activity. I'm going to call it, for instance, activity 1, and from there it's possible that we can move to a different activity. Remember, we by activity we mean a page. So I can go from page 1 to page 2, or activity 1 to activity 2. So in the first example, I am going to create a button. I'm going to call it B2, and the minute I click on it, it will actually take me to the second activity, just to demonstrate this simple operation. How can I actually achieve that, and how can I simply go back? What is that? Let's say button close that will actually do that, and the minute I click close, it will go back to that previous activity. How can we do that in an application? This will be the first case that we will demonstrate. We will be demonstrating multiple cases. This is the first case, just simply moving from an Android page to another and going back, and without passing data, without doing anything special other than just this simple process. Then we will move on case 2 and 3 and see more advanced cases and how we can actually cover them. So let's first create an app that does exactly this specific case. So I'm going to go to the Android Studio, and from there I will actually just create a fresh application, a new app. So we will call it a multi-page app, and I will hit next. And we've done this process multiple times. I'm going to call it empty page. Let's just, so we can track, call the first page that will be created, first activity, I will call it page 1. So we know that this is the first page that will start, which is actually the default page. Now we will start now adding to this. So let's see how actually it will happen. Now Android Studio is preparing the apps. This is the app coming, and as usual, it will take a few seconds before that application is ready. Now, let me go to the layout, just take advantage of time and open the layout. And just wait a few seconds, it's still rendering. Here we go. So let's just remove this and put our own. And we will just put the text page 1, so we remember that this is the page we are in. It's page 1 that we are in now, and I will be adding a button right below this, and that button I will call it BTN Go Page 2. Okay, so it will be Go Page 2. The minute we click on this button, it's supposed to take us to the next page. Now, so this is what we have as far as layout for now. It's just a text view and a button, and that's it. Now, let's go to the page and do this. We want to define before we define this, let's add the second page, then we add the logic of the code that will take us to that second page. How do I add a new activity? How do I add a new Android activity? So this is how we do it. We, as you could see here, we right click on the project the package, and we have an option which is new, and we go to activity, and from there we can pick whatever type of activity we want to create. By default we have the empty activity is the option I go by, so I will create an empty activity, and I will bring that same screen we have seen before, and this time I will call it page 2. Now notice the minute I finish this, the application has a new Java file and also a new layout file. And not only that, the manifest file, if you open the manifest file, let's take a look at it. This is the one that lists the specifications of the application. One of the things it lists is the activities that you have. Here it's listing one activity, and here is the second one. This one was the activity that we did in the beginning, page 1, and this is the second one. And notice that page 1 is treated differently. This intent filter that's added to it to indicate that this is the one that will be launched by default. As you could see, this filter, if I copy from page 1 and put it under page 2 instead, what happens is that if the app starts, it will start page 2 instead of page 1. So you can play with this and move it the way you want. It is kind of different from what we are familiar with in the traditional programming languages, such as programming in C, C++, or Java, where there is that main function you're supposed to define, and from there everything starts. Here it's different. The activities that are all equal. What makes the activity the main one that to start is this filter that you add in the manifest file. You can move it as you wish. Now going back to the project, so I'm going to go back to our project. Here it is. Sorry for that. And what we need to do now, before we design page 2, let's go back to the code of page 1. The code of page 1 is where I will indicate I'll be going to page 2. So here I will define a button, and in that button, which I will call BTN, for instance, we said go page 2. In that button, remember this, we need Alt Enter, so already imported that fine. That button, we will have to define the logic that will simply, so here button page 2 equals, we need to do the find view by ID thing, which is connecting to the button on the screen. So it's resource.id. I have one button for now. So I'm connecting to that, and here is where the logic for this application. I will be doing btn go page 2.sit on click listener, and this is something we've done in the previous video, so I will just go quickly and look how we actually are able to do the move from one page or one activity to another. This is how we do it. We define an object of type, a reference of type intent. So this is it. Now we could call it whatever we like, and we have to initialize that intent. So it's we create a new object of type intent, and I'll just give me a few seconds. I'll explain what that is, and then we specify the page we're going to. I have that second page, which is page 2, and you must specify the that class option. Now, what we've done here is actually we have created something called intent. Now, an intent is like a message I use to communicate with the Android framework, and I am telling the Android framework, please open for me this page, page 2. Now, the way how Android functions, if I go to the diagram I was having just a few seconds ago, the way how Android functions is, if you are moving from a page to page or activity to activity, and like in this case, I'm actually moving from activity 1 and going to activity 2. How does this happen? You prepare that message, which is the intent I've created, and in it you specify like you want to open A2, and you tell Android operating system or Android platform that this is it, this is my intent, and it contains the action I want to specify. In this case, the action is to open page 2. So what happens is the underlying Android operating system and framework will be responsible for opening this page. So it doesn't happen like direct. You have to go through the Android solution system to be able to move from one page to the other. And this happens by preparing that intent and that intent, how do I send it to the Android operating system? I use a specific method which is called the start activity. That's how actually it happens. So now, going back to our example, this alone will not start the second page. What happens is I have to do start activity, and then I say what intent do I have. Now when you say start activity, you are telling the operating system to start something, the Android underlying system to start something, and that thing is specified in the message you are sending to the OS, which is this. This is the message, the intent I, and I'm telling the system to basically do this start, which is to start page 2 in this example. Now this will make the system move from page 1 completely to page 2. So now, okay, so what I want to do is just when I put something on page 2, it makes it different. So here is page 2. Currently page 2 has a different layout, and currently it's blank, as we see. Now, so what I will do is I'm just gonna, for now, make something simple on it. I'm gonna put somewhere here in the middle. Let's just put it way in the middle, and call this just page 2, so we all know that this is page 2. So now let me run this app for now, and we will make a slight change to it. And I want to run it on the real phone. So this is the real phone. So I'm just gonna say run, and it will take a few seconds before this basically system is ready. Okay, now here the application is about to run, and it's telling me to run this on the only available option, which is the real phone. So I'm gonna go ahead and run this on the phone, and let's wait. Now, as you can see, I'm in page 1, and it has the button Go Page 2 option. So if I click on this button, as you can see, it's taking me to page 2. So now, if I want to go back, I use the back button. It takes me back to this page, and I can repeat this process. So so far, I went back using the back button, but I can actually do it also via a button, special button. Now, let's just go back to our code. There was one thing that needed explanation, which is what is this v.getContext? First, v, it's a variable I defined in here of type view. This will represent whatever button you have clicked on, or whatever view you have clicked on. And here, since I have associated this on click with the BTN Go Page 2 button that's on the screen, so that means V will be actually pointing to this button at this point in time. Now here it will have no meaning, but it will have a meaning if I happen to associate the same function with multiple buttons, and then in this case I can use the V to specify what view I'm actually clicking on. Now, what about v.getContext? v.getContext, I'm using this so I return an object to the activity that actually this button belongs to. V, remember, is this button. Now, in order to get access to the activity that contains this, I must do this v.getContext. Why? Because if I use this pointer will point to the current object of the current class, and if you notice that currently I am inside an object of type view.onClickListener. It's a click listener object. So if I'm using this keyword, it will be pointing to something of this type, but I want it to be pointing to something of type activity, the activity that's open and active, and that's why I had to do this specific command. Now, what about this .class thing? The ones that are coming from like programming languages that are traditional ones such as C and C++, they know that usually the executables, the object code of a file happen after the compilation process. In Java, since this is all running on top of Java, the object code of Java is called bytecode, and the extensions of the files in bytecode is actually .class. So this is like saying, I'm giving you the name of the activity that I want you to open, and this is the name of the file but it's in an object code format or bytecode format. So this is the Java file after compilation. That's just maybe I'm trying to be brief as much as possible. Now, okay, so let's do a slight change to this. We're gonna go to page 2 layout, and we will add a button. And that button, what we will call it go back, just to show, or close, as we mentioned in our explanation. So here I'm just going to call it btn close, and that button, we want to add the logic for it in here in the page 2 file. So what I'll do, I will just simply do what I've just done in the other one, and so we will define a button. We call it btn close, for instance, and here we connect to it. In the same way, this is the button close, and we will put the logic where this button close will be simply going back. It's like we are pressing back, so it's like closing the current active activity. So how do we do that? It's very simple. We just put the code and we call the method finish. Finish, if it's called, it will automatically close the current active page. So let's do that and see how actually this will basically interact. So this old page will close and a new one is supposed to open. Here it is. It's asking me to refresh. See, the old one is gone and a new one is opening. Now notice this. I'm gonna go page 2. Page 2 opens with the close button. If I click close, it's going back to page 1. So now what I have done is I actually made it go from page to page and go backward. Now then what actually we have done so far is the following. I just want to make sure we are familiar with that. The way how Android functions is that you are moving from page to page, and the way Android tracks these pages is as the following. It creates a stack of the pages. So this is a stack. I was in page A1. The minute I open page A2 or activity A2, this becomes the top of the stack. Now if A2, for instance, opens another page, it will become the top of the stack. If a page closes, the system automatically will make the one below it the active one. So if the minute I hit the finish thing on A2, the system popped this page from the stack, removed it, and made whatever next stop the active one. So only one activity is active at a time. And this is part of Android structure. It will not show two activities at the same time, or in other words, it will not make two activities active at the same time. That is this activity life cycle that we talked about in the class. So every activity has a life cycle, goes through those states we mentioned before, the created, started, suspended, resumed, paused, and stopped and destroyed. Those are like the cases or the states every activity has to go through. So just remember this is stack thing. And as I mentioned, if for instance the first activity opened activity 2 and this opened activity 3, although this might be able to open for instance another page, then you either go this route, and let me just change the color. I either go this route or maybe this route. So, and according to this, it's impossible to have on the stack the 4 activity. The stack will either be A1, on top of it A2, on top of it A3, or the last one will be changed to be A4, because this stack reflects how actually the pages or activities have been opened. So now let's go back to our example, and now this was the first case, which is I just explained to you. The case 1 is simply how can we send the make the system go from one activity to another. Now we want to change this, and how we're going to change it is as the following. We're going to go build case 2, And in case 2, we will make a slight change. What is that thing that we want to do in case 2? We will use the same 2 pages, activity 1 and activity 2, but we want to learn how we can send data from one page to the other, one activity to the other. For instance, I'm going to be adding an edit text here, a number, and this button go page 2, whatever the user type in here. For instance, he typed the value 11. If he click go page 2, I want that value to show up in here, 11. How can I move from page to page? But this time what is different from case 1 is that it's not I'm moving only, but I'm actually transmitting data from one page to the other. How can I achieve this? Let's see this by example. So we want to modify our example. I'm going to go to page 1. Here's the layout. Now what we will do, we will just add 2 additional things. I'm going to add a new text view, and I'm going to call it the word number. And beneath that, I will have, let's say, TV num, and that's the ID. And then we will need something to take as input, so we will use the edit text, the plain text. And that edit text, we will call it ET number. And let's make its width as the width of the screen, so we keep seeing it in a clear way. So that's the only change I've done in the screen, is that I added an edit text mainly to take input. Now on the code of page 1, here as page 1, what I want to define as extra is the edit text, so I can grab this input. I will call it etnum. And here, as we did, we connected the. So I'm repeat this process. It's actually same. The only thing is, and so here it is. I just connected to this edit text so we can basically grab data. Now, whatever the user type, I want to send to the second page. How do I do that? Notice what I'll do. I will define, for instance, a string. Let's say data, or let's say just value, some value. And I will say the value equals immediately equals et num.getText .getToString. Let's just make it trimmed. Make sure there's no spaces to the left or right. Now, this value that I took from the screen, I want to send to the second page. How do I do that? That message, the intent, I just simply put it inside the message using this put extra command. And here I'm just gonna type the key, and let's say I will just call it v1, and then here I will put the variable value. Now this put extra is the way to start putting values inside the message that you are sending. I could, for instance, just so you show you, I could say I dot put integer, or I could put lots of things. I could just use the same put extra. Here it is. Let me just say I'm gonna say v2, and I'm gonna send the value 100. What's the difference between the first one and the second one? The system in the first one is v1 is sending a value of type string, while the second one is the value 100 of type integer, because I didn't put this as in the string format. So you could use this to send values of different data types, and here we're talking about the primitive data types. Now the thing is, in page 2 you are supposed to receive these values. Now how do we do that? Let's see how we can do that. In page 2, first let's define a place where we can basically display this. So let's put some text view at the top, and that text view I will just have the word received, and I'm gonna call it TV received. I will display whatever I receive in there. Just this is the only thing I want to do. I just want to display whatever I receive in there. So I could receive it, display it on the text view, or I could display it on an edit text. If you want to display it on an edit text, let's do that. We could just use same thing we did before. Let's just do this. So this one, let's just call it ET received. Okay, and let's make its width at the width of the screen. So whatever we send from first page, we want to be able to receive it in page 2. Now we will repeat what we just did. We need to define, this is page 2 code now, so we need to define this edit text, and I'm going to call it ET received, and we need to, in the same manner we did the close button, we need to define one for receive. So this is an edit text. This will change to be ET received. Okay, great. Now notice this. How do I grab the value that is received? We do this here. Let's just add some logic to do that. First, we define bundle. Bundle is a variable of that can store sets of extras. Now remember, we have a message that's sent to us from page 1, and so I'm going to define the word info message, and I'm going to say get intent. That intent that I received, I want to have the extras that are in it. Now if things are normal, I'm supposed to be opening this page from page 1, and page 1 is actually sending me 2 extras, V1 and V2. So what I will do is, maybe a good habit is to double verify that you have received something. It's not null. And then here you can start actually testing what you have received and basically do whatever processing you want to do to it. So what I want to do is just, I want to grab the value that I sent from V1 and put it inside the edit text ET received. And I do that by, if you want to, I want to make it in 2 steps so you see the whole thing. Let me just define a string S1, and I'm going to say S1 equal m dot get string, and I give it the key, which is in this case V1 for the first variable. And since it was a string, then I have no problem to do it this way. And then what I do now next is I can put this string inside the edit text received by doing the set text command, as we could see. So this is the way how we can receive from one page to the other. So let me just run this app so you see it. And notice this whole thing was done inside onCreate. Okay, so let's do that. Let's run it. It's gonna pop up and ask us to pick the device, choose the device, and here is the device. So now the application is supposed to open. This is a new app. Here we go. Now notice this edit text, I'm gonna put in it, for instance, the value of 333. Now I'm gonna go page 2. Notice this 333 has displayed on the new page. This is page 2. So this is how actually we can do that. Now if I close, I go back, this is it. So if I change the value, just send something else. Go page 2, it's showing the new value. So now we can see how actually we can send a value from one place to the other. Now from one page to the other. Now let's just see how we can actually grab the basically the other value that we send. So just we show that we can send strings and integers. Okay, now and here we have seen that we can send a string from page 1, and this was the value whatever the user entered, and then receive this inside the second page by doing the get string thing and displaying this on the screen. How about if we want to see how we can extract this integer value, which is 100 in this case? Then I will do the same. I'm just going to remove this string and define some integer, let's just say I will define integer x, and then I will say, notice the slight change is, we would say x equals not get string, but since it was sent as integer, so you say get integer. Okay, and then you display this x, but after converting this into a string, and we discussed this trick by concatenating to nothing. This no longer is an integer, it will be actually a string. And if you keep it like this without this concatenation, it will compile fine, but it will crash at the runtime, so you want to pay attention to that. So now what we've done in this little change is just, instead of receiving a string, I'm demonstrating how we can actually receive an integer. So let's store and run this and see how it goes on the actual form. There we go. And the application should be coming. Sorry, I by mistake clicked on the, here we go. Now, so now if I hit go page 2, I'm no longer using the string in here. So if whatever I type here is not a problem, because I'm actually talking about receiving the other one, which is the 100. Remember, here it is page 1 is sending two things, the one on the screen and the 100. The 100 is being sent as integer. So I've just hit go page 2. Notice what has been received is the value 100, because here I asked it in page 2 not to extract v1 but to extract v2. So this is actually how we can send data from page 1 to page 2, and it's actually, as I mentioned, it's the second case is going page to page and sending values, and it's obvious that I can send as many extras as I want, different data types, and this is the way to go. Remember, in Android, you cannot access directly like the variables defined in one activity to be accessed in the other. This is the way to move data from one to the other. Once an activity is open, all other activities are either in stop or suspended state, which means you simply cannot just go to them and talk to them and grab data. So now, this was the second case. Now, the last case is actually the complicated one. So for this last case, we will be discussing something else. What is it that we will be discussing in this last case? In this last case, I'm going to be creating a new page. So from page 1, we have seen how we could go to page 2. We already covered this. That's good. I'm sending data or without sending data. Now we want to make a new page, and this page is actually will be called A3. And in that page, or page 3, we have seen now in the first page I can define a number, put some value in it, for instance 11, and we will say go page 3. The minute page 3 button click is clicked, this will go and open page 3. Now in page 3, notice what I want to be doing. I will do something similar to A2 in the beginning, which is I want to receive this value, but I want to add a button to it, and that button I will call it multiply and return. What is that gonna do? Let's just put some simple logic. Whatever being received, I'm gonna be multiplying by 5 and returning, let's return the value back to this page. So for instance, I received 11. I'm gonna multiply this by 5, which will be 55. The 55 is the one that will be stored in here. How can I do this? This is case 3. So we want to cover this case. This case has it all actually. It's a page or activity that's calling another one. That other one will be returning a result. In other words, this activity is waiting for a result to come from this page. So this is different than case 1 and 2. In case 1 and 2, we were not waiting for anything. While here, in this case, the page is waiting for something to come back from activity A3 in this case. How can I develop this, and we will see there is a change that will happen in here. Now in this case we will be doing code that is composed of 4 steps. We have step 1, we will be sending from A1 to A3. Then step 2, we will be receiving from at A2. I would say at A2. Okay, so it's not. Let me just clean this, and then going back now. Step 3 we will be processing and returning. I'm just gonna abbreviate it, return, and that happens at A2 also. So notice the first step is A1, step 2 and 3 are A2, or sorry, A3 in my example, A3, page A3, and then the last step, which is also tricky, is receiving. But where is this receiving done? Notice this, at A1. So I'm having like a whole lots of things. So we have, just let me put a color, highlight this very well for you. So this is step 1. We'll be sending from A1 to A3. This is step 2. A3 will be receiving whatever A1 sent. Step 3, A3 will be doing the processing. In this case, the processing is simply multiplying this by 5 and returning back to A1. And last step, okay, wherever we have this guy sent back, A3 in this case, I have to receive and display. So let's look at those 4 steps and see how actually we can achieve this process. So let's go back to our example, and to do that we will adjust page 1. Now I only have go page 2 button. I want to add another button called go page 3. So let's do that, and here is a button, and let me put it at the end. It doesn't matter where, but it's just to display the concept, explain the concept, sorry. So here it is, go page 3 in this case. We'll call it BTN go page 3. Okay, so now we have a new one. Whatever is in here will be sent to that page. Now we need to add a new page now, and this is, we've done this before, so I will right click in here, new activity, empty, and we said I'm using page 3. You could use activity 3, whatever the name you like, and I'll hit finish. So now we have a code for the 3rd page. Now on this 3rd page, which is so far blank, we need to do like have stuff to receive the value and stuff to process it. So let's just look what I'll do. Something hopefully makes it easy for you to kind of deal with this. Is I will copy the same layout that exists in page 2, because I will reuse that and just do slight change to it. So let me go to page 3. The blank activity is blank, so I'm just going to do Control V. And I will change the names of the things. This will be named page 3 instead. As a text view, it has ID, so the ID, I don't need the TV, so I keep the default. And this button close, I will actually change to something else. Remember what we called? We called it multiply and return. And we will name this BTN multiply return. Now, as far as the text view, the received, we will keep it the same. As far as the edit text, we need to name it something else. Let's just name it received 2, and this is edit text received 2, So this will be below 2. I want to make sure all is good. I think all is good. Let me just double check. Now there was something below the buttons, so let me make sure we have nothing missed. Okay. Here is the interface, as you can see. Now, so we have the text received, the edit text. Let's just put this below this. And okay, all is good now. This is page 3. So this is multiply and return. Maybe we should remove the asterisk instead of asterisk. Let's just make it very clear. I'm in page 3. What happened here? Just 1 second. This is page 3. Looks like when I call here, there's a button. Just want to change this to the word multiply, so it's obvious what it means. Okay, so this is now multiply and return. Okay, so now let's look at the code of page 3. Now the code of page 3 in the beginning will be similar to 2. So also let's save time and just copy the 2 buttons. And notice you need to be careful when you're copying, because the activity page 2 is for page 2, so I'm not going to copy everything. Okay, here I did this because I copied from, see this one is page 2. Okay, that's all good. Now this one is no longer called close, it's called multiply. And the edit text, I named it ET received 2, so that's good. And let's just do the connection thing. All of this logic has to be pretty much the same. The only thing, let me define this in front of you also, you'd have, so you know what I'm doing. So as far as the edit text, let's just do ET received equal edit text and find the view by ID. And I'm now going to be connecting to edit text received 2, which is on page 3. Now in addition, we need to connect to the button in the same manner. So let's do that. In this case, it's the button multiply. This is a button, and this is the button on that page, which is the multiply return. Great. Now we need to do the logic for receiving the intent, if you recall, which is we defined bundle M, and that M equals, as we could see, that M equals the get intent dot get extras. And now I want to change the logic. We will see in that page we will be receiving the v1 only in this case. And here is my statement, M not equal null. Then what we have is we grab that value and put it inside the edit text received. Set text will be m.getString will be the v1. I will be sending this via v1. So that's when we receive. Now let's see what for the button, what we're going to be doing is the logic for returning back. So multiply and return will be like this. It will be set on click listener, new on click listener, and this is what we will be doing. First, I want to grab the value that's in here. So let me grab it, and in the string, I'm just going to call it value. It will be et dot get text to string trim. Okay. Then I will be converting this into an integer, so I'm going to define integer x equals integer dot parse the value the value here, and we're supposed to multiply this by 11, so we're going to say x equal x multiplied by 5. I said, I guess it was my example. Whatever processing you want to do. Now we want to return this back. Notice how we return stuff back. So now actually I maybe if I want to explain this the steps, this will be explain this shortly, but I want to write the code, then we go through it again one more time. This is this was the logic for receiving. This is the logic for processing and returning. So this is step 2 and this is step 3. I will go back and explain that just shortly. So what we have here is that we need to return stuff back, so we have to create an intent. Now that intent is the message that I'm going to be returning back. The way we return back is different than the way we open a new page. So I'm going to create a blank intent, and notice what I will be doing. I will say m dot put extra, and what will happen is I will be returning the result back. Let's just say I'm going to use v3, and in it I will put the value of x. Okay, now wherever the new x value is will be stored as v3 in this new message that I'm returning. And notice this, I will say set result, sorry for that small case, set result, result okay, and on the intent m. Okay, now what is this statement is all about? Since that other page will be opening this page and expecting a result, besides that I'm going to be putting results, which in this case will be the value of x after multiplied by 5. I have to indicate what is the status of that result. I have options. If you notice, I could put a result cancelled, for instance. Result cancelled indicates that the user did not return result. Something wrong happened, maybe like connection error or something. So there was no result. So in this case, I have to specify that it was cancelled or something went wrong. It didn't go well. But if everything goes well, I'm supposed to indicate the status as result okay. And I will show you where we use this field as we go to page 1. So now what is next? Next is I just need to do the finish thing. And the finish, remember, finish is just simply close the activity. Now the thing is, when we close the activity, it will go back to the page that has opened it, which is in this case page 1. So we go back now to page 1. Just remember, in page 1 what we have done is we added a button called go page 3. Now we need to add the logic for this code. So we will do something similar to what we did in here. Here's page 1. I'm going to add another button similar to this, and I'll call it go page 3, and I'll copy this same code. I'll copy it, but I will adjust and have now logic for page 3. So I'm going to go page 3. Notice the slight change. This will not be open page 2, will open page 3. And I'm only going to be sending one value. I don't want to send the integer. And here is another change. Since I'm opening page 3 in a way different than the way I'm opening page 2. Page 2, I was opening page 2 just to send data. While here I'm sending and I'm expecting results. So what I'll do is I use this thing which is start activity for result. And when I do that, I use the message I'm sending, which is the intent I, and I add to it some request code. Notice what it's asking, request code. Now this request code, the intention of it is to allow me to determine when the result comes back, where did it come from? So maybe I explain this in the diagram. Let's just use a diagram to explain this. And the explanation here, if I am, for instance, imagine that I have this case. I have, besides activity 3, I have activity 4 too. Let's just move this so we have some space. Imagine I have, I can go to activity 4 as well. So this page can go to activity. Let me put them in a color so you could see that. It can go in activity 3 and activity 4. Now imagine this is expecting to return some result for you, and also the same for A4. Now activity will be notified when you receive results. But how do you know that the result is coming from 3 or coming from 4? There is no way to tell which one has returned the result for you unless there's something I could use as an indication that this result has come from page 3 or page 4. And that thing is called the request code. The request code is that when I'm moving from page to page, activity to activity, I'm gonna create a request code. Like in my case, for moving from A1 to A3, I put this code, A10. Maybe if I'm moving from A1 to A4, I'm gonna put a different request code, for instance 12, and those are numbers you pick. Okay. Now, if a result comes back, when the result comes back, if it's coming from R3, it will automatically have the request code 10, and if it's coming from A4, it will be automatically putting the code 12 as a request code. So here, all what I have to do is to check the number. If it's 10, I know it's for this page, and if it's 12, I know it's for the other page. So that's the intention of this request code I'm putting in here. So I know who actually is returning the result for me. That's the intention of it. Now, the only left component, remember now I'm in page 1, is how can I receive the result? To receive the result, we have to add a new method. And let me write this method. That method is called onActivity. Sorry for that. Just 1 second. It's called onActivity. Oh, sorry, it has to be annotated like everything else we do. So the system knows that we're talking about something built in. Unless I am not in the right place, let me just double check. I'm gonna close this and this. Okay. So here it's gonna be on activity result. That's the name of the method. Okay, it should automatically show the thing. So the prototype. So I'm just gonna do this. If you want to have suggestions from Android Studio, you just do Control spacebar. So highlight the thing and do Control spacebar. And I will scroll down. Here it is, protected void on activity result. So I will double click on this. Notice this helps a lot. I don't have to memorize the whole syntax. So now here it is. Let me just show you the entire structure for this. This method on activity result, we are overriding this. It's built in activity. That method will automatically get executed when this page is opened coming back from page 3. So when it gets automatically executed, it will be sending along with this 3 parameters: request code, result code, and the intent. Those 3 things are important to basically pay attention to. So let me comment on them. So we have here, as you can see, this one is, if you recall, we send the value 10, so I'm supposed to receive back 10. Now the result code is the one that you set in that other activity. If you recall, we made this value result okay or cancel, whatever that is. So whatever you set, you will receive as back, and then the data, whatever you defined as a data to come back. In my case, I only defined one extra, which was v3. So I expect that this is inside the extras of data. So depending on when you actually made a call, the request code will be specified, and the return, you specify if it's okay or cancel, and if it has data, I'm supposed to be opening this data and actually play with it. So now this is what exactly I will be doing. I have to test first that I am coming from request code, the correct request code. Remember, we have in this example only one request code. So I will use and do equality test. It's supposed to be 10 because when I called, I only used 10. And then if this is good, I can also put another condition to verify also the result code is good. So I will use if result code equals the result okay. If these two cases are okay, then I can start thinking of the data. What data I'm talking about? Here is the data. The one when I return, I'm in page 3, I put this extra V3, whatever the x multiplied by 5, that is the data I'm looking for. Now how do I extract this? I can simply define, for instance, a string, and I will say string equals that data dot get string in this case. Sorry for that. This is the data I'm talking about here. So if you name this m, whatever, you use m in this case. For instance, let me just do m dot get extras. Sorry for that. M dot get string. For whatever reason, just 1 second. There's something I'm missing. That would be, just 1 second. Okay, I changed this by mistake. The one in here, I'm supposed to change this. This is the data. Let's say I call it m, so that will be m. Now it will work. Get string. It was get string. Let me just 1 second. Get extras, then get string. Sorry for that. You could see it's not easy to memorize all the syntax, so that's why the IntelliSense feature of Android Studio comes handy. It helps a lot. You don't have to memorize all of this stuff. So now I'm saying whatever inside V3 as a value, I grab it inside string S, and I will put this in the edit text that's on the screen, which is in this case we named it etnum. So I will be using etnum to display the final result. Etnum, that's it text. Sorry, in this case I put it string S, so I'm going to put string S. So to review, let's just review what we have actually done in this example. We have done the following 4 steps. So I'm going to open the steps so we see them very well. Step 1, I am on page 1. I want to be sending data to A3. Where is that exactly? Let's take a look at it. Here is page 1 code. I define the button to go to page 3. The action of this button, go to page 3, is simply we are defining an intent to go to page 3. We're grabbing the value from the screen and putting this in an extra, and then starting that activity, which is page 3 in intent-I. And we are specifying the request code 10 to be used later. So that's the first step. Now the second step, if you recall, was at page 3, A3, we are receiving the values. And then step 3, we're processing the values. Let's go and explain these 2 steps. Where do we receive? Here is page 3. We are on side on create. This is where we receive. We define a bundle and we do get intent, get extras. And then that intent, get extras, what we do is whatever we send on page 1, we are receiving this by doing get string from inside that bundle and putting this on the screen. Now the processing, which is the action of the button multiply, this is how it is. This is step 3 starts here. We get the value on the screen, convert it into integer, multiply it by 5, creating a new intent, putting in it the value of V3 that will be returned, which is whatever we received multiplied by 5, and setting the results to be okay, We have the other option, remember, cancel, and finally finish. Here, step 3 is done. Now, the last step will be, which is step 4, which is receiving the value at A1. So let's look at that. I'm going to go page 1. Page 1, this is the code to receive. This is it. I added on activity result. And remember, 3 values I have to deal with: the request code, result code, and the intent that I have received. Now the request code will be whatever you used, so it will be 10. And the result also depends on what was set in the A3. If all is good, I can start grabbing the data from inside the message I received by doing the get extras, get string, whatever we named it over there. Remember here, I use v3 in page 3, and accordingly I must get it as a v3. Whatever I get, I will be displaying on the screen. Let's demo this app. Let's demo this app and make sure all is good. Of course, it's possible to have mistakes. We can fix them if any shows up. So let's open the phone. Here is a phone. Okay. And here is the phone, but this was the old version. Now we will open a new one that has Go page 3. There was a crash in the beginning. Let's demo what's the reason of this crash. Let's demo what's the reason of this crash. It's saying on page 141. Oh, I see. The crash is because I forgot to connect to button 3. So we need to do that. It's good exercise. Let's just do this. This is going to be Go page 3, and I'm supposed to connect on the screen with button Go page 3. So let's run this app again. Of course, the crash happened because it was referencing something that is not initialized. It was null. Okay, so that was the problem. Of course, you could always clean this, double check. All is good. Now the new app open. Here is Go page 3. Let's send the value 10 and go to page 3 and see what happens. Notice received 10. Now multiply and return. It returned it as 50. Now if I go page 3 again, received it as 50, multiply by 5, it's 250, and so on. Going to page 2 does nothing to the value. This was actually set to talk to integer anyway from previous example. But this is how it is, a going page and returning result back and forth. You can easily control the page. And I hope this example was enough to demonstrate the 3 cases of how I can communicate from one page to the other, going back and forth between pages, sending and receiving data back. This is a complete example that covers all these cases. Thank you very much.